Good evening, everybody. How are you doing? I'm Latvian Grandmaster at Neiksans, and today is the day when I've come back with a brand new boot camp. So those of you who don't know what it is a learning stream. Hello, Cindy, F, Jason, Jones, Moath, and Annette, everybody else who's watching. Evening, everybody. So today, I would like to talk a little about a very nice antidote against the French defense. So, what is the French defense? Probably you know it. C4, E6, and everything which comes after D5. And this is incredibly tricky opening. So, the main moves which have been played for a long time usually involve D4, D5, and then white used to have a very popular continuation E5, which today is not very popular. C5, C3, knight C6, knight F3, queen B6. I was playing this when I was a teenager. Yeah, that was French. This is what I learned. I was playing bishop E2, castle, etc. For most of the time, I had no clue what I'm doing here, to be honest. No clue whatsoever. So I was trying to somehow bring out the pieces, sometimes knight e3, knight c2, etc. But very difficult to position to understand. So then I decided I need to change something. And I started to play a lot of knight d2. Why knight d2? I was generally scared of knight c3 systems. For example, after knight c3, bishop b4, e5, c5, a3, takes. Oh my goodness. There's so much theory here. So I thought, I don't like it. So while I was thinking what to do against this terrible French defense, I had an amazing opportunity to read a very good book whose one of the authors was Mark Dvoretsky. To be honest, I don't really remember its title. It was in Russian language, and I think it was something about positional finesse in certain types of positions. And for whatever reason, in that book, Mark Dvoretsky was talking about the closed French position. So I titled it as the French King's Indian attack, but for many years I've treated it as the closed French. So what it is, it's D3. It's D3, and where's the idea? So white keeps the pawn on e4, defended. It looks slightly passive, it looks strange, right? Because we're closing the bishop on f1. But now, if black plays d5, we play knight e2, and this is a very simple setup for you to play. So you want to play moves like knight f3, you want to play moves like g3, you want to play moves like bishop g2, and short castle. Yeah, it might seem not much, right? But check out this particular game of Sergei Karyakin against Samuel Shanklin. And the story is really amazing because they were playing, what was it? I think it was the semi-final or the quarterfinal. To be honest, I'm slightly confused. I don't remember which part of the World Cup was it. It was a very deep run, obviously, for both of the players. Karyakin made it to the final ultimately, and so Karyakin lost the first classical game, and he was forced to fight back. And in the second game, Shanklin had to make a draw. If he makes a draw in this game, he advances. So he chose the French defense, and Karyakin goes for d3, knight e2, and hello, Sledgehammer. And the funny thing is, it's a super tricky system because everybody, pretty much at the professional level, they know the evaluation of the position. And usually the evaluation of the position is in black's favor. And you're going to see the evaluation bar is going to go down significantly for white, but it's easier to play with white. Let me show you. So this particular game, after 92, knight f6, knight f3, bishop e7, g3. White's setup is very simple. Play bishop g2, short castle, rook e1, and at some moment play e5. Close the center, and then start the kingside attack. So that's why this is called the French King's Indian attack. So you're looking towards an easy game at the kingside. So I've been advocating this particular system for many years, that it's really great. I mean, up to a certain level, of course, but I think it's really great. So Shankland played really super modern. This is indeed super modern approach. Usually people here do not play a5, they play c5, they play knight c6, etc. But this move a5 has become really trendy lately. So black is not castling short just yet, and he wants to get some space at the queenside. After 92, I didn't mention anything. I just said that 92 is what I'm still playing, by the way, but it's not as fun as D3 92 system, which I'm still playing, meaning being a grandmaster. So A5 idea, what you have to understand that lately at professional chess, gaining space advantage has a new meaning. And in many openings, even in the Catalan, white is playing moves like h4, h5, gaining space, push aggressively forward the pawns at the h file or the a file. And yeah, I think we are going to check some lines with bishop g7 delp. Yeah, hopefully I can contribute something. So a5 was played, bishop g2, a4, so black is indeed aggressively pushing the pawn, trying to create some weaknesses. Yes, this is the game for the World Cup. a3, stop the pawn, c5, short castle, knight c6, rook e1. So Karyakin continues the typical plan. Short castle, and check out the evaluation bar. It says black is better, right? Black is better because engine doesn't understand fear. Engine doesn't understand being concerned. And this is something that always a human being will take into account. So that's why I think this was a brilliant choice by Karyakin. So e5 is very typical, closing the center, and knight f1. And why e5 is so necessary move? Because we have a couple of rules in chess which clearly dictate. In order to start a successful kingside attack or queenside attack, what do we have to do? We have to close the center. Why? Because the opponent wants to counter-strike in the center, and that's another rule. If your opponent is attacking either at the kingside or the queenside, what you should do? You should counter-strike in the center. Close the center, focus on the kingside. So this rule has been tested many times. It works. It really works. So that's why here white plays e5 97. So here b5. And now comes the funny part. Shankland is a brilliant player. He is a brilliant theoretician. Both of these players perfectly know that there is supposedly nothing for white at a kingside. They know. Shankland knows. Karyakin knows. But when you face it over the board, it's much more difficult. You know, I've played it. I've played it against GM caliber players. And even when they feel like there's nothing, they still tend to have a look back. I mean, what is happening with my king? What is happening with my king, right? And they are concerned about the king's safety. So check out how this game progressed. So h4 is a very typical response from white. So white wants to play something like knight h2, knight g4, maybe h5, h6, maybe bishop g5, pretty much ignoring what is happening at the queen side. So bishop b7, h5, h6 seems to be a dangerous idea to allow, because if black allows it, let's say he plays something like, I don't know, let's say rook e8, h6, g6, knight h2, knight g4. Now check out these weaknesses. They're always going to be there, always going to be there. So the position is really static for black. He can never safely play at the queen side without worrying these weaknesses on g5 and f6. So naturally, he played h6, but this now becomes a prime target. And you know, when you reach this kind of position, you always have to be super careful not to miss any tactical ideas involving a piece sacrifice. So usually here white plays something like knight h2, knight g4, black plays bishop f8 and sort of says, there's nothing. There's nothing. Yeah, there's nothing. But still, I mean, when you have it over the board, doesn't feel like there's nothing, because it just takes one shot, you're done. Let's say the knight goes from d7 away, bishop h6, knight f6, in comes, and you get them mated very quickly. So not super simple. But Karyakin did something else. He played g4. I'm sorry, I think he played bishop f4 first, queen d2, and g4. You're seeing the evaluation bar. It's constantly getting better for black. But at the same time, black needs to understand what I'm going to do about this g4, g5 incoming threat, right? So this is a huge threat. How do you deal with this? So Shankland played queen d8. Makes sense, right? Of course. I mean, you defend the pawn, the square on g5. Everything seems to be order, and he's looking towards his expansion at a king side. And this is something that Engine doesn't understand. Engine says, there's nothing. So Karyakin played knight h2, which seems to be incredibly slow. Rook a6, top choice by Engine, which is, I don't know what's the idea actually of this move. I guess use the rook just in case in the 6th rank, maybe double the rooks at the same time. I have no idea why this rook a6 is necessary, but Engine thinks this is the best move. So Karyakin just plays king h1, rook g1 and try to stop me. So Shankland plays b4, ignoring the king side. He knows there's nothing. Rook g1. And there you go. There you go. He starts to react because nobody can remain calm just looking what is building up at the king side. So the best choice by the Engine, if you would like to know it, is b takes, and rook b6. And say there's nothing. Yeah, so g5, I'm not concerned. So this is not how human being minds work, because you need to make sure you're not missing g5, bishop goes away, there's going to be a huge checkmate. Maybe I'm going to play something like bishop h3. You need to understand that g5 is not a big threat. And part of how humans are treating the game is that this I came to realize after many years of practice is that we treat all of the threats the same. Real threats and illusory threats. So when you're sitting in this position from the black's perspective, you simply cannot make a difference because they all look the same. So you're trying to defend against them even if they are not real, because you think, there might be something, so probably I need to defend it. So that's why, again, the Engines don't understand it. Thank you, Passport, for the sub. Really, really appreciate it. How are you doing? So what happened here? So this was the first sign of Shankland being careful. So he played knight f8 just in case I'm gonna attach one more piece to the defense. A takes on b4. This is a very nice idea to disrupt black's plans at the queen side. d4 to secure the pawn on e5. Knight a5, which seems to be not optimal move, but knight c4 is very tempting. And check out, Engine already is changing his mind. Apparently, the best move for black is a3. a3, let's say I play b takes on a3, rook takes on a3, and rook b1. And it's not even clear what exactly has black achieved that the queen said, well, this threat of g5 is still incoming, it's still there. It's still there. So I just need to play moves like bishop f1, bishop d3, and g5, and go figure out. I mean, when it's gonna go through. So Shankland played knight a5, g5, knight c4, queen c1, boom, boom. You see the evaluation of the engine. It's hard to understand. It's not good for black. So where exactly did Shankland make a mistake? So he played b3, bishop takes, bishop goes away, frees the g file, a3, and now came a very beautiful sacrifice. Boom. Knight g4, queen h6, knight f6 is incoming. So what do? f5, panic, and Karyakin just destroyed. He just destroyed his opponent and checkmated his opponent over the board. And actually, it was quite interesting is that his opponent allowed it. So Karyakin equalized the score, but the question is, where did Shankland make a mistake? So we have to go back. So he did everything absolutely best according to the engine. So push forward aggressively with the queen side, ignore that there's nothing, and he knew that h6 is a good setup because it stops the h6 advancement from white's perspective. g4, queen d8 is a good move. King h1, rook g1 should be very slow. And he knows in theory that something at the queen side should be done. And apparently it just took one slight mistake of knight a5 and he lost the control of the game. So if you ask me how exactly is obvious this idea of a3, I'll tell you, not obvious at all. Because white can even play a move like b3. Just ignore it, b3, and then, I don't know, something like maybe knight h7, I'm blocking this g5 threat, bishop f1, go away and understand that this is not a mate. So white could sacrifice the pawn on g5, there's bishop d3, there's doubling the rooks, and understand from afar that this, you're not getting mated in 10. Incredibly difficult. So I think this, one of the lines is, has a reputation that it's sort of good for black, but it's incredibly easy to attack with white. I'll show you a couple of more examples. Just a second, let me find them. I have many examples. So this was the game of Sergei Karyakin against Samuel Shankland. Just a second, let me find it. Just a second. Oh, by the way, I think I have one more game exactly in this line. I just forgot to pick it up. Just a second. I'll find it in my database. Now I remembered very quickly. Ah, yeah, it was this one. Okay. Now, this game actually started with knight f3. And that's what I really like, is that you can get to the French King's Indian attack with several order of the moves. Yeah, this system is double-edged, but it's fun. It's easy to play. I mean, those of you who have played against the French defense many times, you could maybe argue with me, but I treat it to be quite an annoying opening to play against. So that's why this very easy attack system, it's so much fun. So this game started with knight f3. So with knight f3, now check this out. Knight f6, g3, d5, bishop g2, e6, d3, knight d2, and e4. There you go. There you go. We again have the closed French, the kings in an attack. So it started with innocent Rete system. Of course, there's no guarantee that your opponent exactly is going to play as Black did. So he played knight f6, d5. He has many ways to play. He has c5, he has bishop f5, he has g6. There's many ways he can do this. But what I'm saying is that you can even reach the particular system even from other openings as well. Now we reach the same position, knight c6, rook e1, and he does everything according to the book. So I'm playing against leading Estonian grandmaster. So this is no club level player. This is a seasoned professional. He knows the system. He is himself a coach. He leads his own club. He's been leading the national team for many years. Very experienced grandmaster, about 2600. So that's the level I'm talking about. I mean, okay, maybe not as strong as Samuel Shankland, but still a very, very strong grandmaster. By the way, he won the Aeroflot Open in, Aeroflot Open in 2018, 17, I don't remember. I think 18. So, b5. Yeah, Black ignores the threat at the king side, and he's preparing the advancement at the queen side. So e5, we are closing the action. Knight e7, knight f1, a5. Check out. I mean, this is funny because Black says, I know there's nothing. I know there's nothing at the king side. Okay, sure. Let's check how strongly do you believe that. So h4, b4, I know there's nothing. Knight h2, I know there's nothing. h5. So pretty much in the same spirit as Karyakin's game against Samuel Shankland. Bishop f4. And when you get this position, you start to get funny ideas. Wait a second. He has queen d2 and bishop h6. How exactly there's no threats? So you're looking at this, and you're having doubts yourself. I mean, how exactly? I mean, this attack is not going through. It looks dangerous. So I know I have to push a4. I know I have to focus at the queen side. Okay, let's play first rook e8. So there you go. This is the typical response from a human being. Let me position the bishop on f8 because then my position is going to be super solid. So rook e8. At the time, I did not know this plan of g4, g5, which was employed by Karyakin. Now I know. Now I know it's really great. But I played something else. I played knight g4. Sort of threatened with some threats. Bishop f8. Now Black makes sure there's nothing. Queen d2. Now the moment of truth. How exactly are you sure from Black that this sacrifice is not going to go through? Do you know what was the answer? Queen e7. So Black is not sure because he wants to make sure that this sacrifice indeed doesn't go through. So I cannot sacrifice it right away. Takes, because there's going to be queen f8. So that's why he played queen e7. But that's the thing. Players from the Black's perspective, they're always going to be watching back behind the shoulder, even if they know that there's nothing supposed to be. It's not really so simple. So what I did, I played something else. I knew an idea from a different system, and I employed it here. Now check out this amazing resource. c4. I'm fighting for the center. At the same time, I'm trying to restrict my opponent's active counter chances. Let's say he plays something like d4. This means the entire king side is just for me. So there's no queenside action. He can never open the queen side. a4, a3, b3, a4, b3, a3. I'm closing, and I'm just gonna unleash the perfect storm at the king side. So it's incredibly annoying for black, even though maybe there's nothing. But sitting just there and watching how your opponent is building up the attack, it's very unpleasant. So that's, of course, why he took on c4. He took on c4 and played bishop c4. Where's the big idea? Yeah, of course, he took the pawn, right? But I had this idea in my mind. Now I took on h6 and queen d7. So this was my idea. I got the square on f6, discovered it over the board, by the way. And after queen d7, knight f6, king g7, knight e7, bishop d5, b3, I got an excellent position, but I misplayed it. I lost the game, unfortunately. Yeah, maybe b3 was not really so great. I could have played knight b6, knight c4, etc. So I was hoping that his bishop is pretty bad on the fate. So this idea was rather interesting, but I'm not even sure if I had to do this. This entire idea of c4. I could have tried to prepare it. For example, let's say, could have played. Maybe I still should have played something like king h2, rook g1. So if he tries to open the queen side, I try to close it. c4, d4. I try to close it. But then again, I already committed myself having the knight on g4. So ultimately, unfortunately, I lost the game. Let me show you some possible varieties here. So let's say, probably I'll start with e4, e6, d3, d5. Let's say knight f6, knight f3, c5, g3. This is usually how everybody plays. Of course, I'm going to show you some other setups as well, because black can play g6, black can play bishop g7, try to secure the king with an extra piece. Now, about this position, the idea is that black is not always obliged to castle if he goes here. Because again, if he goes to short castle, you are playing e5, you're playing rook e1, and it's very easy. Knight f1, h4, bishop f4, knight h2, knight g4, bum, 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 bum. Everything throw at a king. Yeah. Extremely unpleasant. So after rook e1, a very typical response by the defender, very typical, is play something like f6. After f6, e takes on f6, black usually starts to experience some issues with his pawn. Let's say he plays knight takes on f6, and I'm not sure what is the best really. I usually play something like knight f1, try to get to this square and make a good use of this excellent outpost on e5. Okay, maybe knight f1 is not the most accurate one. Hello, how are you doing? So maybe I can try to play something like b3, bishop, bishop b2, knight e5, queen e2, and make a good use of this square. So this bishop on c8 is terrible. The pawn on e6 is incredibly weak. Yeah, simple to attack. Yeah, simple to attack. And this opening, this system is all about simplicity. It's super easy. So knight e7, rook e1, the common belief is that f6 is not good. It's just not good. This is exactly what white wants. He wants to open the king side. So bishop f6 probably drops the pawn on e6 at some point, or maybe you can even play, let's say something like knight b3, e5, and maybe c4. Yeah, if you get something like this, you get an excellent control of the white squares. If he plays d4, you get an excellent control of the light squares. And this bishop is terrible. So if black cannot even push e5, why did he play this? Yeah, why did he play f6? So you still want to play c3, bishop f4, queen d2, occupy the e5 square. So if he plays e5, you play something like c4, you eliminate his pawn, and then you have an excellent control of the light squares. Yeah, so now we know. Now we know that typically here black tries to play very aggressively at the queen side, very aggressively push forward the pawns, and we have this very interesting idea of play h5, h6, knight g4, occupy these squares, and if black plays h6, we can play just like Karyakin. g4, king h1, rook g1, maybe prepare before bishop before queen d2, and this threat of g5, including with some sacrifices on h6, starts looking incredibly risky. But you know what? Many people even don't know this from black. They don't know that they have to play so aggressively at the queen side. I'm just telling you the absolute best approach from black. Many people react differently. Those of the people who haven't studied this. So they play something like, let's say, bishop e7, castle, e5 here, and they start to play something slow, like b6. Yeah, because it makes sense, right? I'm developing my bishop. So after b6, knight f1, bishop b7, h4, they play something like rook c8 because you're supposed to, knight h2, maybe they include h6 at some point because they're afraid of some knight g5 ideas. You never know what kind of ghost they're seeing. So let's say now you start to play knight g4. There's some threats. Let's say bishop f4, queen d2, and something is building. Something is building here. So some big sacrifices, maybe even some knight g5 ideas start to appear. For example, let's say he plays here. I could try even to be super funny with, I'm not sure. I mean, can I play something like knight g5? Sometimes this idea works. So knight g5 takes, and try to try to crash through. Okay, probably it's ridiculous. So I think I could already try to sacrifice the piece here and simply try to checkmate. So let's say knight f8, knight g5. Are you sure there's no checkmate? I'm absolutely not sure. It looks incredibly risky. The black king is disconnected completely. I mean, the entire arsenal for black is somewhere else, although there's no direct checkmate. But it just takes one shot. Maybe, let's say something like random happens here. Now, for some reason, let's say bishop e4 works. You're threatened with a mate, then comes either knight e4, knight f6. It's very easy to lose this. Here, boom, boom, boom. Goodbye. Queen g7 incoming. So, for example, this bishop e4 idea is just one of the ideas I cooked up right now, even without thinking too much about this attack. Looks incredibly risky. So that's the reason. That's the reason why usually black is trying to be extremely aggressive at a queen side and push for those pawns. So castling short, as already told you, starting with knight h2, h5, h6, knight g4, or provoking black to play h6, put the bishop on f4, queen e2, and playing h5, g4. g5 looks incredibly good. Samuel was playing good. I tell you, he was playing good. He's an excellent player. He's an awesome author, but he's a human being. And you're always looking back behind your shoulder. I mean, it's just incredibly difficult. And I already show you the game. It just takes one mistake. And that's it. Yeah, White just took over. He was slaughtered. I mean, it was not even a fight. I mean, he was just slaughtered there completely. So I think it actually was not a good choice. If you would talk about the choice of the opening, it was not a good choice. Because this gives White really good attacking perspectives. For such a critical game, to go into defensive like that, even if the computer supports it, no, I don't think it was a good idea. Probably he knows it as well, but maybe he disagrees. I don't know, but I would never go there. So, if black plays for this system, he plays e6, he plays bishop e7, there's one trick which you have to know. Black could try to postpone the castle. So he knows your ideas. So what black just did, this is completely normal. There's nothing wrong with this setup. Absolutely. So what he can do, he can try to play moves like queen c7, rook e1, and b6. Now, when this happens, you have to be super, super careful here. Because not necessarily your opponent is planning to castle short. So if you would continue in the same manner, you want to play e5, which by the way I believe is still good. e5, knight e7. You want to play queen e2. Now the pawn on e5 is under attack. You're still thinking he's gonna castle. I'm gonna play knight f1. I'm gonna play h4. I'm gonna blah 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 blah. I'm not gonna do all of those things. Your opponent, quite unexpectedly, at the right moment, can play g5. Probably not here though. Yeah, I think I'm telling this from the memory. So this is one of the rare occasions when he can be very aggressive at a king side, because the king is not there. So you're thinking, wait a second, I'm the one who's supposed to attack. How comes he's attacking me? So you play h3, he plays h5. Now g4 is a threat. He threatens to win the pawn. You play something like g4 yourself. Takes, knight f8. So who is attacking? Maybe it was bishop b7, long castle first. To be honest, I don't really remember. But this is a tricky system. This e5, knight e7, bishop e7, long castle. This is what black is thinking about. So what I have done, usually in such situations, if black plays b6, I try not to give up my setup just yet. So I usually play something like c3. I try to be flexible. So let's say he plays bishop b7. I can play e5 if I want, but something like knight f1 looks incredibly logical. And here's the thing, I'm preparing to play bishop f4. So if he tries to play something like, let's say short castle, here we go again, e5, knight e7, or maybe let's start with bishop f4. He goes away with a queen, I don't know, here, e5, knight e7, the same story. Yeah, nothing really changes. We still continue our plan and try to organize this kingside attack. If he plays e5, typically there's a counter attack, take on d5. Take and take. Something like this. Okay, maybe specifically here it's not working, but this is one of the ideas. The second idea, wait, I think it was knight e5. Knight e5 and d4, yeah, something like this. So there's a lot of tactical possibilities for you to surprise your opponent in the center. So the knight cannot go because there's a pin. And if he doesn't castle short, if he castles long, now we play bishop f4, push away the queen. We can close the center at some point. d4. Now h6, g5 is starting to look ridiculous, and we can focus at the queen side. So stuff like this. I mean, this is a tricky system. I just want to mention to you is that if your opponent plays like this, recognize that the immediate idea of e5, queen e2, knight f1, h4, knight h2, etc. might simply not work. So be a bit more creative. So let's say play c3, take care of the d4 and b4 square, bishop b7, knight f1, and just see whatever is happening here. So at some moment, black might consider to take on e4. Takes. I play, let's say, something like rook d8. Yeah, makes perfect sense. Rook d8, let's say queen e2, and should castle. Yeah, it seems to be great. But you know what? Engine still doesn't understand this position. it keeps changing its mind. So one of the most annoying systems, what you can do here, one of the ideas is to play e5 and something like knight e5, play queen e4. So the idea is play queen g4, h4, h5. There you go again. There you go again. The king side attack starts again. And again, engine says there's nothing. Engine says play b5. Play b5, b4, etc. So they're simply not understanding the danger of this position. So you can still try to throw the pieces here, and I would choose white. You know, I'm not sure why engine thinks that this is better position for black. And if he plays something like knight e7, yeah, I guess bishop f4, h4, knight h2, knight g4, knight g5, you can use all of those same ideas and try to organize something at a king side. So this is one idea. The second idea, what you can do, you can try to provoke e5 with bishop f4, and this is quite annoying. Yeah, if he plays at some moment e5, you can fight for this square, and this becomes very positional game. After bishop g5, let's say he doesn't understand what he's doing here, h6, takes, now you play knight e3, this is a great square, put the knight here, this is a great square, this is a great square. So your goal ultimately is try to trade these bishops, if that is even possible, try to trade a couple of knights, and put this knight on d5. If this happens, and he still has the dark square bishop, he's gone. So, I mean, with such a powerful knight on d5, it's incredibly strong for you. Hello, Monsopia, how are you doing? So now that imagine yourself against this b6, c3, bishop b7, knight f1. Imagine yourself from the black's perspective. What exactly do you have to do here? Short castle, you're going to be met with e5, bishop f4, h4, knight h2, etc. Long castle, you're probably going to get bishop f4, but I think actually this already looks pretty good. It looks pretty good. It feels like some sort of advanced French variation. Your center is very secure, and black's counterplay at the king side h6 g5 is just ridiculous. It just doesn't matter. I mean, well, what is happening even there? So you won the battle for the center. Yeah, but again, mainly this system of b6, of queen c7 and b6 is meant to combat this king side attack. So if black tries to do the same thing and let's say be super creative and keep all of the options open, all of the options here, he wants to at the same time be active with the queen side, he wants to keep the king in the center, and yeah, he's sort of waiting for you to define, because again, if you're going to play something like e5, knight e7, rook e1, here, 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 here. Notice his king is not castle. He might still make a long castle, by the way. He might just keep the king in the center. So what's the best approach? If he mixes up the ideas, and I've had these games before, that he mixes up these ideas, you are opening the center right away. And this is the only exception when you are taking on d5. So e takes on d5, e takes on d5, and I really love this move, d4. We want to take on c5, create isolated pawn on d5. Something like c takes, knight b3 is just too good. It's just too good to be true. Because we are going to take on d4, we are going to take on c6, and this is going to be a huge weakness and an easy game forever. So after d4, he plays c4, and I think it was a4, yeah, a4. a4, b4, and either knight e5, knight, I think it was knight takes and c4, takes and knight e5. And this wins something for white. At least this is the idea. Takes, the rook is under attack, the knight is under attack. This is bad news for black. So it only happens if black is very smart. He tries to keep the king in the center, and he's like waiting for you to define. So, but again, this will happen when you're gonna meet an experienced player, somebody who understands it. For most of the part, you'll have people who have no clue. They'll just have no clue. So, like I said, you'll play, let's say, the close French. So those people who have no clue, so they'll play something like knight f6. They'll play something like bishop e7. They'll play short castle. Probably they will play c5 because it's such an active move, right? They will find knight c6. And I don't know what they'll do here. No clue. So let's say 98. They might play 98. I imagine a typical club level player would be concerned of the incoming attack. He probably will play f6. Probably. I think so. Because he's maybe not right away. I'm not sure. Maybe he's going to play something like b6. You're going to play knight f1. He's going to play something like bishop e7. You're going to play h4. And then he'll start, whoa, there's something happening here. I need to do something here. I need to do something. I need to defend my king. So this is the typical thinking. So he might play something like rook e8, bishop f8, and there you go. You are completely in charge. You are pushing towards the king side. Throw every single piece towards the black king. By the way, one of the ideas also, maybe not here. Yeah, maybe not here. One of the ideas to get the knight here to h5, but knight g5, knight h3, knight f4, knight h5, but this drops the pawn on e5. So I imagine not here. But anyway, the point is, you have nothing to do at the queen side. Don't you touch it. Don't you touch it. Don't play c3, b3, a3, whatever. Don't you touch it at all. You're focusing on the king side. You're focusing on moves like h5, h6, g4, king h1, rook g1, g5, played in Karyakin against Shanklin in the same spirit. And you're hoping that your opponent is going to try to help you. For example, he's going to be super scared and play something like f5. Because he feels there's this big attack incoming, so he's going to prevent it. Play something like f5. Of course, we are going to take it. G takes, opens the king too much. Let's say knight f6, and there you go, knight e5. This is exactly what he wanted. Knight e5, knight e5, knight e5, knight e7. Boom, 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 boom. Here, here, here. Do you know how many games I won like this? At the teenager level. Countless. Countless games like this. Exactly in the same spirit. Yeah, Delp, you're right. When they play a4, you have to play a3, but I think that's already very advanced, to be honest. I don't think the majority of the people will get this far. And this is just crushing. Yeah. Rook e1, f4, bishop h3, create a new weakness. That's it. Game over. Usually, the players don't hold here, so they are afraid. They are afraid of the incoming attack. Okay. Now, that is very briefly about the system of e6, bishop e7. Let me show you alternative. Let me just find it. So, one of the alternative lines is putting the bishop on g7. You know, and I have the most, I mean, the best memories from my childhood. When the opponent in the close French or in the French king's in an attack positions the bishop, I'm just like, oh my, this is so great. This is so great. Thank you for doing this. I'm going to show you. So I played this game in the title Tuesday. My opponent was, I don't know who is he. I think he's a youngster. I don't really know him. So he was quite high rated, something like 2400, 2500. This I took from the database, so I don't know what's his chess.com rating right now. So knight f6, knight f3, g6. Okay, so g6, nothing changes. g3, bishop g7, bishop g2, should castle, c5, rook e1, knight c6. So, now the trick about this position. Black is waiting you to play e5. He would love to. He would love you to play e5, because then after knight e7, you say goodbye to the pawn. You lose it, and you're not in time to play knight f1 and bishop f4. That is the big idea. So you might think, okay, I could try to improve it. I could try to play knight f1 and then play e4, e5, bishop f4, etc. But you drop the pawn, right? So d takes, queen d1, rook d1, knight e4. Not great. What we can do, we can improve the threat. We play c3. And c3 is usually a great waiting move here. So after c3, if black plays a5, after a5, the best move here is to play a4. I'm going to show you another game. Yeah. But in this particular blitz game, I thought, listen, I'm simply going to go for this checkmate. I'm playing a blitz game here, so whatever. I'm just going to play simply queen e2. Queen e2. I'm threatening e5 at some point. a4. Very modern, right? He is trying to get some space at the queen side. I just ignore it. So he has to play e5, I believe. e5, e takes, knight e3. So we get some sort of king's in position. Yeah, something like knight c4, h4, etc. It's probably not great. I mean, if I would play in a classical game, I would probably think twice. But still, this is how black should have played. He should have played e5 to stop it. But check out where did he misplay it. So he played b6. Normal move, right? Boom. Boom. Do you see these weaknesses? What is black supposed to do here? So he played bishop a6. He knows he's supposed to attack the queen side. He knows it. He studied this. I ignore. So I just play my plan. So he plays a3. Okay, but there b3. Close it. I'm not interested to open anything at the queen side. So rook c8, knight h2, d4, c4. It's not opening. h5. Time to panic. This is panic because he knows that knight g4, h5, h6, h takes. There's so many threats. For example, let's say bishop b7. I could try to play h5 right away. Maybe I can play knight g4. Just make some random moves. Let's say bishop g5, h5, g takes, knight f6. I think I won a couple of games like this already on chess.com. Just going for the direct checkmate. And English games is white. I'm not sure if they're applicable for English games for white. But these squares are super weak. And if ever black reacts with something like f6 or f5, you would take it. I'm not even talking about the pawn on e6. I'm talking about this huge weakness on e5. Okay, of course, I could have taken the pawn on e6, but the point is that black cannot react by pushing the f pawn. You always win. You always win the e5 square. So what happened in the game? He panicked with h5. g4. I played that like Karyakin. Exactly the same. I didn't even have to think of anything else. H takes, knight g4, bishop g5, h5. I think there was another game which I won exactly in the same manner. So h5. The idea is g takes, knight f6. There's queen h5 incoming. Something like takes, here. Yeah. Lights out. This is completely a mate. So, what he did, he played bishop b7, check anyway, take, here. What is this guy doing here? Take, and as you notice, nothing is even happening at the queen side. It's closed. I mean, there's nothing happening. You're just storming to attack for free. So, knight c6, knight g4, threatening with some mate ideas, and finally I found a beautiful mate. Rook h1, here, boom, boom. And boom. I've never seen a sadder king. It is just just open to attack. H takes on G6 is mate in 1. So G5 is also mate in a couple of moves. So there you go. So what he should have done, he should have reacted to D5 at the right moment. And this A5 is actually top-notch theory. This is top-notch theory, so he played absolutely correct. So it took him just one mistake. I still cannot play, by the way, E5. Oh, by the way, this I have to mention. E5, 97, D4. This, in general, is a risky business. Because black very quickly opens the queen side and tries to pressure your pawns on D4, so you're super slow. You're super slow to do moves like knight f1, bishop f4, h4. This is very slow because your opponent already is pressing the center. So that's why the general rule of thumb is don't touch those queenside pawns. So c3, this is a waiting move because I simply don't have any other choice. I'm going to show you another game with a5, a4. Don't worry about this. So I should have continued with a4. I should have. But like I said, in this particular blitz game, I did play queen e2. I just thought, whatever. So I'm going to try to go for the checkmate. One more missed. I played e5. Now, the next game, I'm going to show you. The next game I'm going to show you, it's from this year's Queen's Memorial. I was playing a tournament over the board in France, honoring my friend and colleague from Lithuania, Aloisas Kvenes, who passed away in 2018. We played for the same team in France, Saint-Quentin. And the team is organizing a memorial tournament. This year it was the second time already. And I was playing against a local young talent. He's about 24 something. He's, I don't know, 16, 17 years old. I don't remember. So he played the French, of course, like a true French player. He has to play the French, right? So I think, okay, here we go again. Do I play against him d4, d5, knight e2? Nah, I don't know. He's a youngster. Let's try d3. d3, knight e2. Here. Yeah, I think I didn't even prepare nothing to this game. Absolutely nothing. So I thought, okay, but I'm going to simply play this closed French and then see what happens. Some Latvian players sign up for daily club matches. Oh, wow. I'm happy to hear that. So he played g6, bishop g7, knight c6, rook e1, short castle. Here we go. You already remember all of this. So I play c3. If your opponent plays e5 here, you can play a great King's Indian. You would have to know some ideas from the King's Indian. I do. I know them. So that's why I'm playing this. I don't mind. So we take on d5. We play knight c4, attacking this pawn. And it's not so easy to defend. Let's say rook e8. Something like, I don't know, is it queen b3? Is it knight f to d2? Is it knight g5? To be honest, I don't even remember the particular order of the moves, but these are very typical ideas for the King's Indian. Knight e4, knight e6, knight c5. And this supposed weakness on d3, why black went for this position, it just doesn't play any role. It's just not doing anything really. So black is dreaming about attacking this pawn on d3 one day, but he is miles away to do this. So you are having an excellent piece play. Here, maybe knight f7, queen f3, and there's so many tactical ideas here. So that's why, maybe it was queen b3, to be honest, I don't remember. Then again, knight g5 is incoming. I don't remember, but black never plays this. He plays a5, and this is, the funny story is, I played this myself with black. Many years ago, when I got my final GM norm, I was playing in the European Team Chess Championships in Greece, Porto Karas, I think. That's a resort town, Halkidiki region. Okay, I don't remember much about Greek geography, but I got my final GM norm. I played a fantastic tournament, was performing 2800. And I was playing with black against what was his name? Philip Panchevsky, international master from Macedonia. I don't remember his first name. Maybe it was Philip. So e5, d4. This is exactly the kind of thing. No, it didn't start as French. I think it started as some kind of knight f6, d5, e6. It didn't start as a French. So that's why I played it. So c takes, queen b6. I think he played knight f1. I played f6. I took on f6. And I had this amazing idea to reroute the knight to f5. I won the game. That was an excellent game, by the way. I won the game, really nice, really nice. Got my final GM norm, was super happy. So all of the black pieces are so active. And this is when I knew that this system is really quite something. And this a5 is a waiting move. I'm like fighting for the space. So if black can wait for something, white can do it as well. So a5. Now black can still not play e5 because I'm gonna again get an excellent king's in position with all of those ideas of knight g5, queen b3, knight e2, knight e4. I don't know. So there's a bonus, a weakness on b5. So after a4, b6. And this I played many times. And now comes the great move, which I really like from white's perspective. E takes on d5. And the point of e takes on d5, it asks black some very difficult questions. Because if he wants to take with a knight, for example, if he would take here, e takes, maybe even here. If he would take on d5, he would maybe gladly take with a knight. Then play b6, bishop b7. He has nothing to worry about. He has an excellent opening, excellent development, no weaknesses. But with the inclusion of c3, which is a waiting move, I'm sort of waiting for queen e2, thinking about e5, thinking about knight f1, bishop f4, etc. I'm still aiming for the system of e5 so that you understand what exactly are we waiting for here. So if he plays a5, I play a4, he plays b6, both sides are still waiting for this e5, d4 to happen. I still cannot do it, by the way. I think so, at least. Wait, can I do it? d4, I think this is not very good, by the way. Black has, yeah, the engine changed its mind. Black has a very good activity at the queen side, so our king side attack, knight f1, bishop f4, h4, whatever, is miles away. Miles away. This is not happening. After b6, I discovered this move. And now the thing is, since we have included a4, a5, what about these weaknesses? This was not before. And that's the trick. That's the trick. After e takes on d5, black can still take with a knight, but he has to understand how exactly are going to be those weak pawns on those weak squares on c5 and c4 and b5 vulnerable. So what happened here is after takes, he takes with a pawn. It makes sense. And the best move here apparently is knight b3. Knight b3 prepares to play d4 next. For example, he plays something like bishop b6, you play d4. And that's it. You want to play bishop f4, you want to play knight e5, he plays c4, you play knight e2, you won the battle for the center. Maybe even b3, queen b3, bishop a3, knight f1, bishop f4. I mean, there's so many great ideas for black, for white. There's so many ideas that you can employ. But the funny story about this particular game, which I was playing against this young player, Michael Boyer from France. I think he's from France, by the way. Maybe from Belgium. I think from France. I remembered some blitz game I was playing against Amin Bassem, who is a big fan, the Egyptian, very strong grandmaster, who is a big fan of various King's Indian attacks because they're easy. And I think he once played against me knight b1. So I thought, okay, let's try this. So knight b1, the idea is to put the knight on a3 and b5. And it's quite interesting, actually. So knight b3 is stronger, but I decided, okay, whatever, I just want to test this game. Test this variation for one game. So bishop f5, knight a3, queen d7, knight b5, rook e8, takes, and bishop f4. And now he starts to experience some major issues with knight e6 and knight c7 or bishop c7. For example, how do you deal with this threat? The pawn is under attack. So that's why I took on e8. Try to look and understand this position. I hope you understand it. I'm trying to explain it to you. So bishop g4 he played. And I think I could have played bishop c7 right away. I just miscalculated something here. I think it was something like knight a7, takes, and was it here? Oh, wait, it wasn't here. I think I'm mixing up. There was... Okay, I forget it. There was one moment that when this bishop c7 was definitely possible, but it didn't work. So we played in a draw. I was still trying to push it, but we ended with a draw. Let me check some other games. For example, I played this game in the World Championship of 1998. Can you believe this? 23 years ago, I was playing under 16. I was playing against Michael Royce, who is now a known theoretician. At the time, I had no clue who he is. All I knew is I can play the King's Indian attack in the French defense. And I just read pretty much a small book, a small article that you have to build up this system against the French, recommended by Mark Dvoretzky, and I did. So that was all my knowledge. I did not know nothing else at the time. So check out how well it was working. So he started with a closed Sicilian. Okay, nothing changes. Nothing changes. Castle. Ah, yeah, knight e7 first. So I figured out I'm out of the book here. So let me play c3. c3, maybe put the pieces somewhere here, see what happens. d5. Okay, now at least I understand where we stand. Rook e1, here and here. Again, very typical idea. So we are closing the center. We're trying to employ these weaknesses to our favor. Something like here, knight e2, knight f1, knight h2, knight g4. Again, very typical. So f6, like I said, is the typical response of somebody who is concerned of the weakened dark squares. Take. And that's a weakness. He played here, I played here, here. At the time, I did not understand that this is almost strategically crushing position. So I put my pieces very actively. Probably I could have played something like h4. I don't know why I didn't do it. And I made slight inaccuracy. I played knight e5, allow him to play g5, and he offered me a draw. And because he was such a strong player, and I was so unexperienced, I accepted it, which was a mistake, of course. I shouldn't have done it. I'm still better here. After knight c6, g takes, knight e5, something like bishop g5, and he's not even threatening with anything, so maybe c for open the position. I have really active pieces here. So what we have learned from this game is that if your opponent plays g6, bishop g7, and play something like knight g7, you can play e5. You can employ the fight for these weakened dark squares, but in general, try avoid touching the queenside pawns, because this is where your opponent will be seeking the counterplay. Exactly here. Let me try and find more. There's another game in exactly the same line, which at the time I believed to be a positional masterpiece. I mean, I was pretty proud of this game. So I was playing against another Latvian player who is, I believe, international master. And he has been playing French his entire life. His entire life. He knows everything about the French. So I played e3. Knight e2, knight f6 here, c5, and g6. There you go. We have again the g6 system. Here, 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 here. Since this game was played in 2009, I was not a grandmaster. I did not study this opening. I knew some basic ideas. I knew that I have to play e5 somehow, but I cannot do it right away because the pawn on e5 is lost. So I improvised. I played queen e2. I played queen e2 with the idea to play knight f1, with the idea to play bishop f4. I had no idea if this is good or not. Now I know that c3 is stronger. So he played queen c7. Again, not good. Probably he should try to play something like a5, a4, a3, organize a very quick counter attack at the queen side. Knight f1, b5. Now he recognized this idea that finally he has to do this, but not with the inclusion of queen c7. And there you go, bishop f4. This is the idea I mentioned to you about before. So again, e5, probably he cannot play. It's going to be, I think, something like takes and takes. So he cannot capture the pawn on c6 because we have a very good bishop on the long diagonal. So there's going to be something. So he removed the queen. And guess what? What do we do here? We still play e5. e5, knight e7, and now the pawn on e5 is well protected. We simply follow the typical idea. h4, knight h2. So he played bishop a6 because he was trying to organize a counterplay at a queenside as quickly as possible with moves like c4, d4, c3. So we cannot completely ignore what the opponent is doing here. So queen d2. c4 is going to be d4. Pretty much what happened in Karyakin's game. You probably remember something similar Sergei also did. He closed the center. He wants to play next c3. And then he has the entire king side at his disposal. So he played knight e4, by the way, which is a very typical response. But usually, knight e4 is employed when the white knight stands on g4. So he played knight e4. I took it and simply switch attention to this weakened pawn on d4. Combined with this weakness, extra protect the pawn on c2, making sure there's no knight a4, knight c3 ideas, I'm simply using the weakened dark squares. So queen f4, h5, takes, h6, knight g5, plus the weakness on d4 is weak at some point. So finally he did it. He did play f6. And again, I'm telling you, this is what most people will play against you when they feel that your incoming attack is getting strong at the king side. Take, I think I took it, yeah. Bishop g5, bishop f4, and I use every single resource I have to organize a kingside attack. So I could have taken the weakness on e5, something like knight e5 or bishop e5, but I have so many pieces here that I have a chance to conduct a kingside attack. So eventually, I crashed through. So I took a pawn, continued the attack. I won a really nice game. Doesn't matter really. I mean, I don't want to show it too much, but in the end, it was a complete domination of white's pieces. This is such a sad night here. Queen g7, yeah. The final little move. Yeah, I'm sorry about that. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what was happening in that game, because the purpose was not showing how well I played this game. The purpose was to show you the typical ideas. Of course, it was too fast, but the game was lasting for good 70 moves. So I just wanted to show you is that your goal is still try to play e5, probably make a preparation move c3, and I think he had to play e5 himself to stop this. So this is very critical, very, very important, that black needs to understand your positional threat. But here's the thing. I mean, in the French defense, you pretty much never play e5, right? So that's why it's so difficult to come up with this move if you're not familiar with the idea. So probably you have to take, otherwise black is going to play d4, takes, and play some sort of, I'm not sure what. I wanted to play c3, knight e3, knight c4. Yeah, but I guess we lost a couple of tempos in the process. So there's that. By the way, I have more games. This game I was playing when I was 16. And when I was only 16 years old. I think I had pretty much fresh knowledge what to do in the system. This was European Team Chess Championship. I was playing for the first time for Team Latvia. And this was a player from Scotland, I think. So, French. Knight e2, c5, knight f3, knight c6, ding, 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 bishop e7. Okay, that is a bit strange. Hey, thank you, Web Chess. Appreciate that. Thank you for your sub. How are we doing? So, bishop g2. I guess normally black should try to play something like knight f6. Hello, hello. How are you doing? And this is a nice example what happens if the opponent tries to continue normal development. Why did he play d takes on e4 and play e5? He is trying to avoid this entire system. And as soon as you get this kind of position, you enjoyed my Rosalino. Oh, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Yeah. So those of you who don't know, I still have the playlist of all of my boot camps. There's a special playlist in my YouTube channel. So this is edition number 36. I've talked about various topics before. So if you like it, give it a follow. Thank you. So if here black plays e5, this is a huge weakness, and your strategy changes. You're no longer going for the mate. You're playing positional. So we are going for the weakness on d5. So c3, taking care of these squares. Here, preparing knight c4. Yeah, g5 was too much, I guess. I don't know what it was really. Knight e3, knight e5. And my opponent's position collapsed very quickly. So he was trying to organize some kind of a kingside attack with his g5, but I mean, with no pieces ready for the attack, it can never work. So this is not a good idea, what black can do. Actually, I think I had one very similar game like that. This game I didn't show to you. So what happens if black takes on e4? So let's say we are still playing the same d3, knight e2, c5, whatever. I mean, there's many orders of the variations. Bishop e7, castle, rook e1, queen c7. Yeah, queen c7 is another waiting move. He is waiting me to play e5. e5, knight e7, queen e2. Probably I can still go there. But I just wanted to play knight f1 and exploit the fact that the queen is on c7, because I want to play next bishop f4, use the queen to win the tempo, then play e5, and I won a tempo, just like that. And if he plays something like, let's say, e5, I can calculate these ideas, these tactical resources, or play bishop g5 and fight for the d5 square, right? It just looks easy. So that's why he took on e4. He took on e4, d takes. I'm still threatening to play e4 with bishop f4, by the way. Here, b6. If he plays e5, I can play c3, and I'm threatening to trade away this knight, and I'm fighting for the d5 square. The engine doesn't really like it. I don't know why. I think it's a really normal position for white. Maybe knight h4, knight f5, knight e3. These weaknesses give white a very easy game. But he played b6, allow me to play e5. Knight e5, queen e4, and something like this we already saw before. So we are starting some sort of a kingside attack. And again, it's getting very unpleasant because any f5, we are going to take on f6, and that's going to create some weaknesses at a kingside. No, I think the engine is not really optimistic when it comes towards the kingside attack. It just says there's nothing. But like I told you, I showed you many examples. It's just people just think differently, right? They tend to care for the king's safety. Engine doesn't care. I mean, engine is soulless being. It just doesn't care. So he played h6, knight e3. Yeah, maybe knight e3 was not really good. I could have continued with something like maybe just queen g4. Yeah, that looks very natural. Queen g4, attack bishop h6, something like king h8, queen h5, threaten with some threats here. Maybe g4. I mean, I don't know. There's so many ways how you can build an attack, because you have so many pieces at the king side. Maybe you can play rook e4, rook e4, rook g4, rook h4, sacrifice on g7, sacrifice on h6, and use your resources. Maybe you can prepare it. Maybe you can play first knight e3, knight g4, sacrifice. If he takes, you take, and you have still a lot of pieces to use for the attack. And at least you eliminated this very powerful knight from d5. By the way, this game I played in the Grand Swiss in Riga. So I was playing against German Grandmaster Matthias Bluebaum, the very strong player, top 100 in the world. And we had played Bantam Blitz Cup before. I beat him, I think quite convincingly actually. That was a Blitz tournament some months before the Grand Swiss. And we were paired to play the first time classical game against each other. And I knew that he is a French player. And what was the other opening what he would play usually? I think it was the Karakan. So I had decided, okay, whatever, if he's going to play the French, I'm going to play the closed French. Play d6, d3, d5, knight e2, knight f6, knight f3, bishop e7, g3, a5. So there you go. Again, exactly the same what happened in Shankland with black against Sergei Karyakin. The same a-pawn push, trying to get some space at the queen side. So I reacted in exactly the same way. Bishop g2, here, here, c5, short castle, knight c6, rook e1. Nothing really changes. And now he surprised me. He played h6. And this move I didn't really understand. I mean, first time I saw something like that. I mean, why would you play h6 before castling? So he had a very interesting idea. So I play queen e2, short castle, e5, and knight h7. So immediately going into defensive, putting the knight on h7 so that it protects the king. I'm not sure why I didn't play h4 really. Now that I look at this, this is such a natural move. Stopping any knight g5 ideas. I guess I was slightly concerned that maybe there's going to be still something like f6, but I mean, doesn't make any sense, right? Because we already know that f6 is not good for these setups for black. I can play something like c4, fight for the central squares. Maybe first take, yeah. f6, take on f6. Maybe it is how I play this. And now c4. Okay, maybe not here. Maybe not here. maybe now I start to remember. Maybe that's why I didn't play h4. So I played knight f1. I thought I can always play h4. He played knight g5. Now I'll allow to answer you. I misplayed this position. I played a terrible game. Partly because I had lost the previous game against Alexei Shurov. I was in a very bad mood. So this was the next day, the next game. I just couldn't pull myself together. So black just played knight g5, and I'm gonna have a question to you. What do you think white should play here? F? You mean why black would choose this particular setup? Because the engine says it's good for black. So every single other variations, engine says what's better. So why wouldn't you choose something which is supported by the engines? Yeah, if he's not mated, he has space advantage at the queen side. Exactly. So black just played knight g5. How would you respond? Since we know our idea, our goal of this entire system is to go for a checkmate. Knight h4, I don't like it. I don't like knight h4. Maybe you can do something better. Yeah, maybe actually h4 is still playable. I didn't play h4. I should have. Yeah, by the way, why did I play h4? So something like h4, take on f3, queen takes on f3. Yeah, this makes perfect sense. Yeah, and then play queen g4, knight h2, blah, 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 blah. You just build up. And the engine is absolutely clueless. Engine says black is much better because he plays b5. I mean, come on. I mean, I have the attack, and engine says you have nothing there. So, for example, I play queen g4, threatening bishop h6, king h7. I play knight h2. He plays b4. I play queen h5. Engine just ignores. Right? So I play, let's say, knight g4, or maybe. Wait, this is the idea. Oh my goodness. I had this idea to sacrifice a piece, but okay, there's knight f5, but I missed g6. The queen has to go away and my bishop is lost. Okay. Insane. So maybe after knight h4, knight h2, b4, I have difficulty to continue the attack because moves like c3 I want to avoid in general. Because it opens the queen side. I want to avoid these moves, but maybe actually this is the way to go here. Something like knight a5, bishop f4, knight b3, just ignore the knight, rook d1, takes. Yeah. Engine says black is still better, bishop b7. Incredible. So, queen h5. Only move already, queen e8, black is better. Something like 9g4. Because of f5. Yeah, the queen is under attack, so there's some kind of tricks. But again, let me tell you, a vast majority of the players won't even get here. So h4 was definitely a good try. It was a good try. But I think the best attempt for me to play here was avoiding trading any pieces. Knight e2. So I'm threatening to play h4 and then go back. Go back with my pieces. He plays knight e4. I play queen d1. And his pieces are going to fall back. Just fall back. I'm going to play c3. I'm going to play h4. Just push them back. So let's say he's going to play something like b5. c3 go away. Something like h4. Knight h7. Something like... I'm not sure. Maybe knight h2. So he could try to play here, b4. Oh, it drops the pawn on a4. A takes. Okay, that's not good. Maybe knight a5. Queen h5, etc. But again, engine is really optimistic. So what I did, I misplayed it. I misplayed it completely. So I took the knight. No, I think I played c3 first. I allowed this trade. I allowed this trade. And when I went for this position, I thought I have an excellent position. I was just oblivious. This position is just worse. Knight g6, queen h4. He traded the queens, and I was just worse. So I played a terrible game, or my opponent on the contrary played an excellent game, so he beat me. So this was slam dunk. After this one, my kingside attack didn't really work, and here I panicked with b4 because I already was not very happy with what is happening here. But still, I mean, it just proves what? It just proves what? I mean, I'm not gonna tell you a secret remedy against the French defense. It's not a secret remedy. It's just a great system to play at the right time. I think it's the perfect system to play at the club level. Absolutely. I'm absolutely convinced that. So if you're a club level player and you're playing some Winawer, you're playing some Steinitz variation, why you're doing this? You have much simpler openings. For example, I know that many people buy courses, they buy books, and they study these insanely difficult openings after knight c3, bishop b4, e5, c5, etc. Or there's this knight f6, e5 here. The classical Steinitz, right? Here, etc., etc., etc. This is huge theory. I don't know nothing about Steinitz. I know nothing. I have never played this. I just don't like it. And that's the thing. And that's the thing about the closed French or the King's Indian attack. It's very idea based, and you know that's always been a motto of my chess career, of my chess coaching, is that I've always focused on the openings and focused on continuations which are based on ideas. So that, for example, with white, I would play Italian, white Italian opening. I feel it. I feel the ideas. I feel the openings. I feel the maneuvers. And it's incredibly difficult to prepare black against Italian. And the same applies for the closed French. It's very idea based. You have a lot of simple plans and you know these ideas. And you saw what happened in the game of Sergei Karyakin against Sam Shanklin. He knew it. He knew it by heart, everything. And still he lost. He was crushed completely. So it's just not so simple. So finally, one more game I would like to show you. Yeah, this is a surprise weapon. I think it's more than a surprise weapon. I would say if this is not your main continuation against the French, it's definitely something you can play in accelerated time control games against everybody. I've played this system of D3 GM level. I've been playing at the GM level. I played in the Grand Swiss. Okay, I mean I lost the game, but not because of the opening. Not because of the opening. I just misplayed it. I had really good chances. I just was in terrible mood. So Karyakin won the game. The World Cup. What was it? I think it was semi-final. Was it quarterfinal? I think it was semi-final. Yeah, I think so. So the system is good. You can play it at the highest level. Of course, probably if you're talking about Karyakin, if he is going to play the King's Indian attack in the French quarterfinal, okay. If he is going to play the King's Indian attack in the French as his main opening, no, absolutely not. I mean, Karyakin is not going to do it because he knows that this is not going to work in every single game. But occasionally, as a small surprise weapon, even at that level, it can be played. But if you're talking about club level, come on, right? You could absolutely do it. So finally, I would like to show you a game of Magnus Carlsen against Ding Loren. So yeah, I guess it's a shame. Not a shame, but it's not understandable not to show a game of Magnus Carlsen as he's playing right now the World Championship match against Jan Nepomniachtchi. So he also has played the system. I mean, who hasn't? Although this was a blitz game against Ding Loren, he beat him. So it started as the Sicilian Paulsen. And even here, you can play D3. You remember, I show you the system, knight of 3, d5, g3, knight of 6, bishop g2, e6. This is also alternative way to reach this. You can do it. And Carlsen shows another way to reach this. He just plays d3. So, g3. And there you go. About queen e2. About queen e2, I'm going to mention something in a moment. Knight b2 is completely fine. Queen e2 is a different idea. I'm going to show it to you. So bishop g2 here. Nothing really changes. Carlsen plays exactly the same. One of the features of having the queen on e2 is that white has the option to play c4. c4, knight c3, and fight for the center. At the same time, slowing down black's advancement at the queen side. At the same time, white is still dreaming about the king side attack. So this pawn on e5 is such an annoyance for black. And if black plays something like f6, it just creates more weaknesses. So what Ding Loren did, he played e4, which is good, by the way. Rook e1, h4. And now if we compare this position to the typical position I was showing you before, we have included c4, d4. The action at the queen side, it's much more difficult for black to open. So he played b5, seeking a way to open the position. Take, knight, and here. So despite the fact that black has opened the queen side, it's still pretty close, right? knight g5. Yeah, this is one of those moments I mentioned to you. I also wanted to show it to you that you're not obliged only to play h5, h6 because you're missing the second knight at queenside. So you can play knight g5, knight h3, and this is the idea I mentioned to you at some point. Play knight f4, knight h5, queen g4, try to checkmate on g7. So he played here, 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 threatening to play bishop h7. There's bishop e4, by the way, incoming. That's it. So Dingleran is done. So where did he misplay it? Nobody knows, right? So g takes here. This is going to be a swift mate. Bishop e4, rook e4, you choose it. So he played f5, dropped the pawn, and Carlsen converted the game. What if he didn't play h6? Yeah, maybe. But what should he do, right? Because you are threatened with some queen h5 ideas. If he will take it here, now you can probably, I'm not sure if this is good, play h takes. This is the idea. Use the open h file to deliver a checkmate. I'm not even sure, by the way. I think bishop takes on g4 also looks good. And something like this. You know, if there's no checkmate, I don't know what it is. It just looks awfully like a checkmate. So let's say takes here, queen h5, bishop e4, let's say rook g8, bishop e4, rook g6. Yeah, probably just takes, queen c5, threatening with a mate in one, queen f8. So white already is up material. The pawn on f6 is very strong, so not good. I mean, okay, black didn't get checkmated right away, but this idea of, let's say, bishop g5, queen c7, bishop f6 is an idea which you can use. So I don't know. I mean, the engine says king h8. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it looks awfully like a mate. Here, 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 here. Supposedly there's no mate. I find it hard to believe. Check here. Check here. Yeah, some very difficult defense. Something like queen e8. Give the piece back. I mean, okay, so be it, right? So going back to the original question about queen e2. So Carlsen did it like this, d3, g3, and queen e2. I assume his idea also against d5 was queen e2. It's very nice. It's very nice idea, by the way. So you can use it against Sicilian Paulsen as well. So it's not only against the French, against the Sicilian Paulsen. If the opponent pushes d5 in some Rete systems. But if your opponent plays e6, d3, d5, you can play queen e2. Yeah, this is, by the way, a possibility. So after queen e2, you are willing to play moves like knight f3, g3, bishop g2, short castle e5. Nothing really changes. So let's say knight f6, knight f3, bishop e7, g3, boom, 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 boom. Now the queen on e2 actually looks really, really good. So let's say we play something like c5, short castle, knight c6, e5, knight e7, c4, exactly as Carlsen played against Dingleran. Exactly in the same manner. To be honest, at the professional level, the theory only starts here. So I'm not going to bore you with that. So this is still a sideline. So white is trying to slow down black's intention to organize something at the queen side, but at the same time, white is playing at the queen side. So I was telling you to avoid that. Right, so this is not so simple. So there's even moves like, I think b5. b5. Oh wait, was it b5? Was it a6? Yeah, I think it was a6. This was written in my notes, I think. a6, preparing to play b5. Let's say knight c3, d4, probably go back. So you waste 2 tempos, but you didn't allow black to win the pawn on e5, and something like here. Again, the engine is a big fan of the position. So h4, I guess. So you continue in the same manner, nothing really changes. Okay, I mean, the engine says you can do something better. Maybe not knight c3 right away. Maybe you can start with something like rook e1, defend the pawn on e5, a b5, play maybe b3 to protect the pawn on c4. So he is going to be busy trying to take it many times. So you want to still play bishop f4, knight c3, h4, h5, or knight g5, and stuff like that. So of course there's many other systems. For example, in the Grand Swiss, there was a blitz event after the Grand Swiss. I played terribly, by the way. I was so tired after the tournament. I was just completely exhausted. So this was one of the final games. I was playing against a Polish chess legend, Monika Sochko. She also had a terrible tournament. Everybody was tired about. So we played some French again. And she played this system. Bishop d6, knight e7. Which I didn't remember nothing. What should I do? So I was trying to play in the same manner. Short castle, bishop c7, and c3. So the idea, again, is I'm sort of waiting for the right moment to play rook e1 and e5. Yeah, I don't understand what is the system all about, whatever. And I came up with some new idea in a blitz game. So I played a3 with the idea to play b4. And if black plays a5, I use an idea from a different system. I play a4. Do you remember? Knight b1, knight a3. So I think stuff like this can be used. You can improvise a lot here. And she played b6, b4, bishop a6, and I think it was best to play e takes on d5. Not very obvious, but I played c4. And I got some kind of a rich game.